Who's actually going to get the most out of a 15-inch mill drill like this? Who could safely walk away? And does the price make sense for the average hobbyist who just wants a reliable machine for occasional metalwork? If you're the kind of person who hesitates before dropping a few $100s on a benchtop mill, you've probably wondered whether you'll end up with a tool that sits idle or one that becomes the workhorse of your garage. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The real question is whether the Jet JMD 15 delivers enough everyday practicality to justify that spend, or if you'd be better off with a smaller drill press or a dedicated router for your projects. Let's start with the kind of shop where this machine feels at home. Imagine you're a weekend metal fabricator who routinely cuts, drills, and countersinks steel brackets for custom bike frames, or a small business owner needing to bore precise holes in aluminum housings for a low-volume production run. The 15-inch swing and the one-piece caster and column give you a sturdy platform that won't wobble when you're pulling an inch drill chuck through a tough piece of material. Because the column is a single casting, there's no play at the base, which means you can trust the machine to keep the spindle on target even when you're pushing a decent amount of feed pressure. In real-world terms, that translates to fewer ruined parts and less time re-drilling because the head stays exactly where you set it. Now, let's talk about who should probably skip this mill. If your primary work is woodworking, you'll find the spindle speed range and the steel-centric design a bit overkill. The JMD 15 is built around a 1 HP motor that runs on 115V or 230V single-phase, which is great for metal but can be noisy and a bit sluggish when you're only sanding a piece of pine. Likewise, if you're a true beginner who has never touched a mill before, the learning curve of setting up the angle vise, aligning the depth gauge, and mastering the quick-stop knob might feel steep. You could end up with a machine that gathers dust because the time required to become comfortable outweighs the occasional use you get out of it. What makes the Jet stand out in day-to-day use are the practical touches that most people only notice after a few projects. The 360-degree head swivel lets you flip a workpiece without having to remount it, which saved me a lot of time when I was drilling a series of offset holes for a motor mount. The positive quick-stop knob is tactile. You can hit it and the spindle halts immediately, which is a safety net when you're doing deep drilling and your fingers get too close to the cutter. The internal depth gauge is large and easy to read, so you can set a repeatable depth without pulling out a separate measuring tool. Those little conveniences add up, especially when you're cutting a batch of parts that need identical holes. On the flip side, there are a couple of trade-offs that show up once you move past the initial setup. The machine's footprint is roughly the size of a small filing cabinet, so you need a dedicated spot in the shop. You can't just tuck it under a workbench and pull it out when needed. Also, because the spindle is driven directly by the motor, you don't have a variable speed control that lets you dial down for delicate aluminum work without changing pulleys. That means you either have to accept the stock speed or invest in a separate variable speed gearbox, which adds cost and complexity. Finally, the 1/2-inch chuck is solid for most drilling tasks, but if you ever need to run larger boring heads or special accessories, you'll have to purchase an adapter, which isn't a big expense but is an extra step most users overlook until they need it. Bottom line, the Jet 15-inch mill drill is a solid, no-nonsense piece of equipment for anyone whose projects regularly involve drilling or milling metal with a need for repeatable accuracy. If you're already comfortable with setting up a mill, have a dedicated workspace, and value the stability of a cast iron column, the price aligns with the practical benefits you'll see on a regular basis. If you're a wood-only hobbyist, a brand new beginner, or someone with space constraints, you'll probably get more mileage out of a smaller drill press or a dedicated router. The machine isn't perfect, but its strengths in rigidity, quick-stop safety, and swiveling head make it a worthwhile consideration for the right audience. The link is in the description if you want to grab one and see how it fits into your own workshop.